Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to you all. So, how are my dear students doing? Hopefully, you all are fine and safe in your homes. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. It's a great feeling to read your motivating comments in the Google Classroom. They are real source of motivation. Thank you, my dear students, for being so regular to your video classes, watching them regularly. And I'm sure even today, you people are sitting with your pens, books, and booklets. We'll be noting down the important pointers which will help you in making your own notes. So let's begin with the class today. But before we move on with the class, let's try out. Try something new every day. Because when you try something, you actually learn so many things. And if you are afraid of trying, you will never be able to grow. You will never be able to face challenges. You will not learn your strengths and your weaknesses. So don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to try. Be a flowing river, not stagnant pool of water. Flow. Look for your new destinations. Take up the challenges. Remove the hurdles and try to the best of your abilities. And surely you will succeed. So, what we did last week, quickly recap and then we'll move on to the today's topic. We did the upper and lower Indus plain. We learned about their different features. We learned that how are they similar and what are their differences. We learned about doabs, their names and locations. My dear students, please do self-practice work and keep them safe because once, inshallah, when you will come back to school, teachers will be correcting your self-practice work. So do them, file them properly, do them with date, write down the date, write down the question and answer them. This will also help you to understand better the concepts taught in the Google Classroom. Make sure that when you attend your live classes, you have watched the lessons of your Google Classroom so that you can ask questions to your teachers and get clear and better understandings of the concepts. So now let's see what's there for us today. And today we'll be doing Indus Delta. So my dear students, today you are going to comprehend the formation of delta. You will evaluate the importance of this landform, what economical activities can take place, as well as how do people spend their life over there. And we will do the difference between upper and lower Indus plain in more details. So let's begin the day today. This is how this is how a delta looks like. This is the picture of Indus Delta. Delta is the piece of land, a triangular piece of land, which is formed by the deposition of carried material by the river. When river is about to enter the sea, its speeds become very slow and it starts to drop and deposit the material which the river has carried from the time it started its journey. This material, it deposited over there, forms delta. Before we go into the further details of this formation and its importance, let's have a look at the glossary. These are some words, important words, which you will be using in the coming slides and in the lesson today. So, what is a distributary? It's a stream of water which branches out from the main river. Can you see these streams? These are all actually coming from the main river, and then as it started to reach the flat land, they broke into small streams, tributaries. They are called distributaries. Swamp, an area of land permanently saturated or filled with fresh or salty water. Now, this water at times stays at that surface. This swampy area can be used for growing some crops such as rice or mangroves, which are special trees growing in the salty saline sea water. They may also grow in these swamps. Tidal surges. These are unusual, often destructive rise in sea level above normal high tide in a coastal area. This may force the water to push further onto the land. Now let's move on and see how does a delta form. So as we discussed, that delta is a triangular or a fan shape. If you have seen a hand fan, a fan shaped piece of land which is formed by the distributaries. Now look over here in this picture. You can see a river flowing. If you remember in the last class, we did oxbow lakes and the meanders. So this is how the oxbow lakes are formed. So as the river starts to reach the flatland, close to the sea, when it has to join, the river joins the sea, it breaks into distributaries, the branches of river which are coming out and dividing as ribs. Now the space between the two distributaries can be the swamps. These are saturated areas with fresh or seawater. Over here, the crops can be grown. Now here, the deposits build up faster than waves and currents can remove them. As they are brought over here, they deposit them. And then the rivers join the sea. So this is how this actually happens. The formation of deltas. Now when the delta is formed, it is when a river flows into the sea, its speed slows down and its load of alluvium is dropped at the mouth of the sea. The point where the river joins the sea is known as mouth of the sea. This deposited alluvium on the banks of the distributaries make the levees. Levees are the embankments. Due to the deposition, these embankments may rise, forming a border between the land and the river or distributaries. In certain cases, the depressions which are formed due to the deposition of sand, the seawater may fill them up, and that creates swamp. So delta is formed. It's a triangular or fan-shaped land which is formed due to the distributaries depositing the alluvium or the carried material. The levees rise, forming proper embankments. The trough or the depressions which are formed between the distributaries can be filled by the seawater, forming swamps. Now, Indus Delta, where is it located? The Indus Delta is located to the south of Thatta. That is, it is more towards the interior Sindh. Over here, you can so clearly see the river coming and then spreading out into distributaries, forming these deltas. So over here, the delta is formed. What type of a land is it? Flat topography. It's a flat land. It starts to slope towards the south because the sea is in that direction. The alluvium is deposited on the banks of the distributaries, which makes the level of the levees higher. And as we discussed, that the seawater may fill up the troughs, depression, resulting in swamps. In these areas, the small islands can also be found along the coast. What type of a climate is there in this region? It is a pure coastal area. It has warm summers. That is, the temperature is usually high with mild winters. It rains during July till September, which is the monsoon season. The climate may remain moderate due to the sea breeze, that is, the wind which is coming from the sea. Maritime influence is the effect of sea breeze on the land. Soil could be very fertile, but in certain situations, if the tide is forcing the seawater towards the land, the soil can be saline as well. Mostly in this region, mangroves are found, or the tidal forest. Mangroves are those special type of trees which can grow and survive in salty water. They are a great source of wood, and as well as they secure the coastal region against storms, floods, and earthquake. So this important forest can be grown or naturally grows in this area. Low density of population in the Indus Delta. Although this area is quite fertile, but the population density, that is, number of people living per square kilometer, is very, very low. The reason is most of the land is swampy and marshy. The water level has gone higher. The land has become waterlogged, that is, muddy. Danger of flooding is very high as the tidal surges. If you remember, we discussed tidal surges are unusual high tides and they can be destructive. This is because of the destruction of mangroves. The mangroves in this region have mostly been deforested. As a result, the land is open for erosion and destruction. River Indus has changed its course. This is the usual practice of the rivers, that over the centuries, I won't say over 100 years, but over the flow centuries, it changes its path slowly and gradually. Salty water which has started to come here because of lack of sweet water. This salty water has mixed and taken a larger proportion. There is a lack of drinking water. Normal crops like rice or sugarcane cannot grow in saline water. The dams have been constructed all over the course of River Indus. As a result of the construction of dams, the flow of sweet and fresh water to the tidal delta has reduced. As a result, the salty water is becoming quite dominant and taking over the entire area and turning it into saline, waterlogged land. Due to this, the agricultural activities are very less. Very few economic activities take place. Jobs are not available. This land doesn't have proper infrastructure. Indus Delta has seen a time when this region had Pakistan's largest rice cultivation. But as the sweet water flow has reduced, the rice cultivation is no more practiced. Due to this rice cultivation, there were rice factories as well. So this region had a very good economic activities and it was a center of rice production and as well as cultivation. Due to the lack of sweet water, this land is simply turning into marshy, wasted area. As discussed, economic activities in the Indus Plain are very limited now. Economic activities in the Indus Delta are very limited now. But Indus Plain is the most successful area in terms of economic activities and settlements. These are the most productive regions of Pakistan, whether it is Upper Indus Plain or Lower Indus Plain. The doabs of Upper Indus Plain and the old and active floodplains of Lower Indus Plain are excellent areas for farming because water is easily available, and if it is done on old floodplain, then through canal irrigation, water can easily be supplied to the land. Land is itself rich in new and old alluvium. Alluvium is fine particle which is brought by the rivers from the mountain, and they improve the quality of soil and help the plants to grow. Crops are grown the whole year because of fertile flat land and water from the canals. These plains have number of industries which provide jobs to many people. Now, what are those important areas which are located in the Indus Plain? Lahore, Faisalabad, Gujranwala, Sakhar, Hyderabad. These are some cities which are there. Along with them, there are more areas which are counted in this plain. Multan is also there. We cannot ignore that land. The relief and drainage of the plains encourage the growth of settlement. The flatland of the floodplains are ideal to construct houses, industries, and factories. It is easier to supply infrastructural facilities over there. You can easily construct road and railway tracks. Airports are also constructed in these places. Due to the road network, goods produced in these cities or in the nearby cities can easily be brought to the seaport for export. Electricity is supplied to all the urban centers. These are just a few names which we have mentioned here. Otherwise, there are more cities which are found in this region. This region of Indus Plain has the highest urban settlements of Pakistan. The population density is also very high. It varies from 50 to over 400 people per square kilometer. This is only possible due to the alluvial plains, moderate rainfall, tolerable summers and winter temperatures. The summers and winters are neither too hot or too cold. They are suitable for the settlements as well as for the crop cultivation. So how is the upper Indus plain different from the lower Indus plain? They both are, if we look at the similarities, they both are very fertile, ideal for settlement. If you remember in my previous class, we discussed that if a question comes for comparison, go with the similarities and differences. So if a question comes for the similarities, for the comparison between upper and lower Indus plain, then before you write down all these differences, make out few points. They both are flatlands. They both are extremely fertile, ideal for growing crops. They support settlement. Industries and factories can be constructed in these regions. So these would be similarities. Now let's see what are the differences. Yes, Upper Indus Plain is located in the northern part and Lower Indus Plain is located in the southern part. In simple language, we can say Upper Indus is in Punjab and Lower Indus is in Sindh. River Indus and its major tributaries flow in Upper Indus, while only River Indus flows in Lower Indus. Ravi, Jhelum and Satluj join Chenab and Panchnath at Panchnath and fall into River Indus at Mithankot. While from Mithankot, the River Indus flow towards Arabian Sea. So, there are more similarities which are given over here. This is from your book, Geography, Pakistan, Environment of Pakistan by Humanas Sethi. You can find it over there. As it is there in your books, there is no use of I reading it out and you listening to it. As I'm sure that you are sitting with your books, open it up and read it from there. So what we did actually today, we learned about the formation of Indus Delta. We learned what are the climatic and topographical features, what are the problems faced by Indus Delta, lifestyle and economic activities of this region. Excuse me. So these are some very important aspects of Indus Plain. I again repeat, Indus Plain is the region which has the maximum settlements, industrial states, and the most developed region of the country. All right. So thank you, my dear students. I'm sure you will have a good concept of the Indus Plain, Indus Delta, and its formation. Stay safe, stay indoors, enjoy your life, and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Hope to see you in the next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.